Ah! Faced with Jason's attack, Gamma immediately wanted to resist, but under Jason's powerful strength, he could only retreat continuously, blood spurting from his mouth, and the 10,000 wood emperor staff in his hand was caught by Jason. Then, unable to hold it any longer, it turned into a stream of cyan light and was caught in Jason's hand. Gruck! Gamma's eyes popped out, and there was a gurgling sound in his throat. His weapon was taken away, making him feel immense shame. Not bad, not bad. Jason's spiritual consciousness lightly scanned the 8th level Emperor spiritual core at the head of the 10,000 wood Emperor staff, then grinned, put the 10,000 wood Emperor staff into the space ring, and then aimed it at Gamma, grabbed it with one claw again, just lie aside. Gamma, be careful. Seeing Jason's 3 punches and 1 claw, he defeated Gamma's special move, knocked him away, and beat him. Seriously injured, all his weapons were taken away. Pushkin, who had been silent all the time, was shocked and angry. Now he saw Jason taking advantage of the victory to pursue him, aiming at Gamma and attacking again. He had been gathering momentum for a long time. Pushkin suddenly moved and took a step forward. Pung! Pushkin stepped out in the air, and a monstrous aura rose into the sky from his body. Immediately, a huge shadow appeared behind him, emitting misty earth-yellow light. He stepped in the void, one step tens of meters, and every step that landed would inevitably shatter a large area of void. His whole person exuded an extremely fierce murderous aura. The violent earth spiritual power was rolling around him like a raging wave, and the terrifying aura was like rolling wolf smoke penetrated the sky and the earth. As he ran, a huge earth-colored sword with astonishing power appeared in his hand. The terrifying pressure was released. Pushkin roared and slashed at Jason. Die and destroy the sky. Boom! The sky collapsed and the earth collapsed and the sky fell. Pushkin slashed down with his sword, and earth-yellow spiritual power spread across the sky. A thick earth-yellow sky aimed at Jason's location and the pressure dropped. Amidst the buzzing and trembling, the air was squeezed out, and there was an endless roar. A huge explosion. With this Pushkin move, the sky was dark and the earth was dark. It was actually more powerful than the previous Gamma. Strips of earth aura fell down, and the effect of the earth laws in the 5 elements attributes reached an unpredictable level. Situation. Okay, I originally thought I would deal with you again, but I didn't expect you to be so impatient and dare to attack me. I don't know how high the sky is. Well, I will fulfill your wish. The law of wood, what? I'll break it. Jason originally wanted to capture Gamma in one fell swoop, but he didn't expect that he would knock Gamma away with 3 punches. Pushkin dared to take action, and he couldn't help but became furious. He roared again and again, and the 5-fingered rainbow changed its claws. It is a fist, standing in front of the body. Buzz. At this moment, the cyan ball of wood element in Jason's mind moved like lightning, and an unimaginably powerful force of wood element was inspired. It was like a small sapling that instantly grew into a towering tree. Jason's body was crisscrossed. Then, the cells in his body rubbed and vibrated with each other, and a mysterious wood law representing eternal life, prosperity, and infinite vitality appeared around Jason's body, and finally condensed on his fist. Let you have a taste of the law of wood that I have learned. What kind of sword of destruction is like a chicken and a dog? Explode it. Jason sneered and waved his hand, typing out what he had been doing on Huashan Island in the past 4 months. The mysterious attack on the understanding of the laws of the wood system is his own true way. 1 punch. The laws of the wood element overcome the earth element, the void vibrates, and the world is invincible. Bang! 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 A huge storm swept across the whole world. Jason's right fist seemed to have punched out a green field, and the green wood spiritual power quickly wrapped around the earth element. The earth-yellow sky made of spiritual power is like a plant taking root in the soil and absorbing the nutrients. Among the 5 elements, wood overcomes the earth, and the earth-yellow sky condensed by Puskin keeps making bursts of explosions, and then explodes. It was opened and shattered by a blow, but Jason's fist, with its residual power unabated, penetrated the void and punched Puskin. No. Puskin stepped back continuously, with a look of extreme horror on his face. Although Jason had knocked Gamma away with 3 punches before, Puskin had no intuitive feeling for Jason's power, but now the opponent can defeat him with just 1 punch. The move that had gathered the terrifying power in him was destroyed, and the remaining power remained undiminished. It aimed at him and enveloped him. Puskin's heart was suddenly filled with incomparable fear. He flew up in 1 step, and 2 explosive shots appeared in his eyes. An earth-yellow divine light, facing Jason's attack, an astonishing power awakened in his body. With a wave of his hand, a huge roulette wheel appeared in the void, constantly flowing, and Jason punched the roulette wheel. Among them, the powerful earth spiritual power was everywhere, and it swallowed up all Jason's attacks at once. The earth roulette, the only one in the world, will destroy Ziyu in every life. Puskin roared wildly, turning his hands continuously, and the spiritual energy, containing the laws of the earth, continued to flow from his fingers into the roulette. The roulette was getting bigger and bigger, and the spiritual patterns, containing the mysterious laws on it, were getting bigger and bigger. Clear, exuding a heart-stopping coercion. This is the earth roulette. Senior brother Puskin actually practiced the earth roulette skill to the point where the earth roulette appeared. As expected, he is indeed a proud man of heaven. The talent is amazing. Okay, we are saved, haha, we are saved. According to rumors, the earth roulette represents the reincarnation of the earth. If you use this move, you will always be invincible against any attack. They will all be absorbed by this roulette and eventually become the power of the earth roulette. Hey, this earth roulette is just a shadow and has no physical appearance, but that doesn't matter. It's more than enough to kill Jason. This Jason dares to hurt brother Gamma. Damn it. Senior brother Puskin, kill him. As soon as the earth roulette came out, several 7th-level Emperor spirits who were trembling in fear because Jason showed off his power, 3 punches flew away from Gamma, and 2 punches forced Puskin back. The core disciples at the master level couldn't help but reveal ecstasy in their eyes at this time, roaring wildly again, looking at Jason with naked murderous intent in their eyes. What earth roulette? It's useless to be invincible forever. In front of me, Jason, nothing but surrender is useless. Jason stood proudly in the air, sneering again and again. His mysterious attack, the first time he used it, he was still not very proficient, but now after such a battle with Gamma and Puskin, he has become more and more proficient, and all kinds of ever-changing mysterious attacks have begun to be deeply integrated into him. In his bones, he gained a new understanding of the elemental laws of the 5 elements. Hi. After Jason finished speaking, the black épée behind his back suddenly fell into his hand, and a cold smile immediately appeared on Jason's face. In an instant, a 5-color stream of light suddenly bloomed on Jason's body. As the various colors of light flowed, the law of the 5 elements appeared, wrapping around the black heavy sword in Jason's right hand. The 5 elements rotate, the heaven and the earth become one, mutually reinforcing each other, and dominating the world. Break it for me. Jason roared, and the black épée wrapped in colorful laws and mysteries suddenly surged amidst the roar, aiming at the person in front of Puskin. The earth roulette fell hard. Boom. The black heavy sword in Jason's hand instantly turned into a multicolored crystal dragon, roaring, and collided with the earth roulette in front of Puskin. The colorful auroras cut across the sky and the earth. In everyone's horrified eyes, the 5-color divine rainbow bloomed and tore the earth wheel apart in one fell swoop. Countless earth laws, unique mysteries, and astonishing earth spiritual power were condensed into the earth wheel. The disc completely collapsed, scattered in the void, and became invisible. The earth roulette shattered, Puskin's body shook violently, and the earth spiritual armor on his body shattered. The whole person retreated tens of meters in the air, a mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth, and there was a look in his eyes. Unconcealable horror. The earth roulette, which was rumored to be invincible once cast, was so fragile that it was vulnerable to the five-element mystical attack that Jason understood. What? What kind of strength is this? Why is it so terrifying? The earth roulette was destroyed by his sword. Why did this happen? What kind of monster is this Jason? Why do I feel it? With all the attributes of the five elements, is he actually a spiritual master of the five elements? Impossible, then how could Jason be so powerful? Several core disciples who were previously complacent and thought they had mastered the situation were shocked. Suddenly, it trembled in the void, and screams came from the mouth. However, Jason just sneered, his eyes filled with cold murderous intent fixed on Puskin not far away. The sword of Taiwe incarnates as the great Yu, guards the heaven and earth, and protects me. At this moment, Puskin already knew that he was in extreme danger. He never thought that Jason's strength was so terrifying. At this critical moment, he finally showed his unparalleled evil demeanor, roared in his mouth, and threw the khaki giant sword in his hand. The giant sword vibrated like an ancient spiritual mountain growing continuously, piercing the sky, transforming into a great mountain, emitting shining brilliance, the entire sword body flowing with divine light, and the phantoms of various earth spirit beasts roaring, birth and death, exuding a shocking light of power. A large mountain with a height of more than 10 feet stood between Jason and Puskin, exuding a terrifying aura. What is this? What happened to the giant sword in Puskin's hand? Senior brother Puskin has such a skill. How come we didn't know about it before? It's so awesome. I used to think that the giant sword in senior brother Puskin's hand was just an ordinary spiritual weapon. I didn't expect it to have such a change. Several disciples were shocked. They knew that their life and death were completely controlled by the confrontation between Puskin and Jason, and saw that there was still room for change in the battle. Each one is a surprise. Okay. On the other side, Jason's face also showed ecstasy. With his eyes, he could see the extraordinary power of the giant sword in Puskin's hand. He immediately said with a ferocious smile, "You are disturbing my practice. Every one of you, no one is immune. I have to collect compensation. Your giant sword is good, bring it to me now." Jason saw that the giant sword in Puskin's hand was so powerful. Instead of showing any fear on his face, Jason roared with excitement, seemingly not paying attention to the opponent's Taiwe sword at all. Die! Puskin roared from the opposite side, clasped his hands together, and chopped off with all his strength. Boom! The Taiwe sword, which was more than 10 feet high and as big as a small mountain, under the control of Puskin, immediately aimed at Jason's head and struck him. Buzz! The void trembled, and the tyrannical earth spiritual power spread across the sky. The whole sky above the turbulent spiritual sea seemed to have reached the end of the world for a moment. On the sea surface below, countless waves kept roaring under this tyrannical power. It stirred up huge waves that were more than 10 feet high, and the unparalleled power even spread to the deep seabed. Well done, get out of the way of the sword of Taiwe. In front of my Jason's power, everything is just a cloud. Jason roared suddenly, and all the pores on his body were filled with electricity shooting out in various colors. With divine light, a 5-color divine rainbow, as thick as a bucket, bloomed from his hand, illuminating the entire world. An unconcealable pressure spread out from his body and enveloped everyone present. What kind of power is this? Why is my body shaking involuntarily? Is this Jason really a newcomer? No, this is the Overlord, the Overlord. Several levels of Emperor Spiritual Master under the pressure of Jason, the core disciples at this level all trembled involuntarily, and huge fear arose in their hearts, which they could not control at all. Haha, 3 times the combat power, break the 5 elements law for me. Jason looked up to the sky and screamed. Under the operation of the spiritual god art, the 5 elements of spiritual power in his body instantly reached the strongest point. His eyes were like lightning, blooming. Thousands of feet of light, like an ancient demon ape, leapt in the void, and the black heavy sword in his hand struck again. Bang! The sword of Taiwe, which turned into a huge mountain, was swept away in everyone's horrified eyes, and Puskin, who controlled the sword of Taiwe, was directly knocked away. The robe on his body continued to explode, turning into fragments and falling down. Blood spurted out from his mouth, staining the sky red. The sword of Taiwe was knocked away by Jason's blow and lost control. It kept trembling in the sky, as if it was screaming, and then turned into the size of its body. Jason spread his fingers, and the 5 elements in the void condensed to form a huge 5-color hand, and he took the Taiwe sword into his hand at once. Jason stood proudly in the sky, and an invisible aura spread out, making everyone retreat. Originally, Jason, who was a 7th-level intermediate imperial spiritual master in the past, had not used the most powerful god-destroying technique, and his strength was on par with Gamma and Puskin. Because Gamma and Puskin are also monster-level geniuses. Although they are not as good as the Red Sun Eyes of Azeroth, they are not much different. They are about the same strength as Paltrow, whom Jason killed in the Elixir City. Napu's gene is even better than Paltrow. Jason had a duel with Paltrow, but after fighting for a long time in the ring and finally exerting 5 times his fighting power, he was slightly better. Now it shouldn't be so easy to fight against these 2 people. But after defeating Paltrow, Jason was able to use the god-destroying technique to achieve 7 times the combat power under the change of the energy of the 7th layer of the Red Dragon Crystal. More importantly, after joining the Core Queen, Jason transformed into after studying under the aura of 10 times the heaven and earth on the Island of God for more than 4 months, he finally created something of his own. He integrated all the mysteries of the laws into his own body and created his own unique laws and combat skills. His strength has been earth-shaking. The changes are far superior to those of genius monsters like Paltrow, Gamma, and Puskin. You have disturbed my practice, and your sins are heinous. However, I will not kill you. Considering that we are all from the same sect, you should surrender quickly, kneel down, and then offer me your treasures as compensation. I can spare your lives. In the sky, Jason stood coldly and proudly, speaking slowly, looking back and forth at Gamma, Puskin and other 6 core disciples, with a cold smile. On the other side, Gamma and Puskin were in ragged clothes and covered in blood. They were suspended there in a state of embarrassment. The other 4 core disciples, including Hei Lai, were trembling with fear, with expressions in their eyes. The light of fear. Damn it, Jason, you want us to surrender, kneel down, bah, even if we die today, we will not surrender to you. Gamma's eyes revealed extremely malicious light. Puskin, let's take the Emperor's potion together. I don't believe it. The 2 of us joined forces after taking the magic potion. We are still no match for Jason. Come on, Gamma slandered and let out an explosion in his mouth. Drink, and then a bottle of elixir exuding terrifying spiritual power appeared in his hand. On the side, when Puskin drank violently, a bottle of elixir quietly appeared in his right hand, and then, like lightning, pour it into your mouth. Seeking death. After seeing the other party's actions, Jason was furious. As a pioneer in the art of spiritual medicine, he had been paying attention to the other party's movements all the time. Just when the 2 of them had just taken out the spiritual potion, Jason moved around. He took a step forward suddenly, his claws like dragons penetrated into the air, and the terrifying pressure shrouded them. How could the 2 of them, who were seriously injured, resist Jason's attack? He raised his sword like a sword and grabbed Gamma and Pooh. The 2 of them, Skin, brought them out. The elixir in Gamma and Puskin's hands was almost poured into their mouths, but just a little bit. They were captured by Jason, and their spiritual power was tightly sealed. I can no longer move an inch. The Absolute Emperor's potion, yes, that's right. I want these 2 bottles of the Emperor's spiritual potion, even if it's compensation for disturbing my practice. Jason snatched the absolute Emperor's potion from the hands of the two of them, satisfied. He nodded and then threw it into his own space ring. Jason, you have to die. Gamma watched helplessly as Jason snatched away all the Emperor's potion that he had used to fight for the last time. He let out a shocking roar and wanted to struggle and resist, but there was nothing he could do. He was like a little chicken. Being lifted up in the air by Jason, he could only let others slaughter him. However, Puskin did not scream because he knew that no matter how hard he resisted, it was useless. He just looked at Jason with anger and fear. Isn't it a good death? There are too many people who have said this to me, but they are often the ones who die in the end. But don't worry, I said I won't kill you until I kill you, but the previous actions of the two of you made me I'm very dissatisfied. I won't let you two have a bad death, but I will make you two have a bad life. Jason smiled cruelly, hooked his left and right palms, and suddenly grabbed the necks of Gamma and Puskin. Hi! 2 streams of 5-element spiritual power instantly spurted from Jason's palm and entered the bodies of Gamma and Puskin respectively. Gamma and Puskin immediately let out shrill screams, and arrows of blood spurted out from the pores of their bodies. They couldn't help but convulse, and even urinated and defecated. They were incontinent, and a smelly liquid dripped from their trousers to the turbulent spirit sea below, which was extremely disgusting. Jason's spiritual power instantly shattered all the meridians in the bodies of Gamma and Puskin. In an instant, the two of them collapsed like noodles, with their eyes silent and foaming at the mouth. Shattering the meridians is equivalent to taking away half of their lives. Although they can be treated and made up for in the future, they will have to be treated in bed for at least a year and a half. Even if they are cured in the future, there will be some consequences for their future cultivation. Great impact. Ketcha not far away, when the 4 Halai people saw this scene, they were all trembling with fear, with extremely frightened eyes, but no one wanted to escape, because they knew, even Gamma and Puskin, the 2 8th-level low-level Emperor spiritual master brothers, were only ravaged. With the strength of a few of them, it was impossible to escape from Jason's hands. Jason's previous behavior unparalleled, domineering and ruthless, at this moment, he was like a demon in their hearts, making them unable to resist at all. In the sky, Jason casually threw Gamma and Pooh. The two of them were left on the God Transformation Island like dead dogs, and looked at the other core disciples. What? Didn't you hear what I said earlier? One by one, take out the good things on your body. You have not done anything before. I am a kind person, but death penalty can be avoided, but living crime cannot be escaped. As long as the things you take out satisfy me, I can consider being gentler. Jason spoke coldly, his voice was very calm, without any anger, but only judgment and punishment, judging those who went against his will, and punishing those who challenged his coercion. Senior brother Jason, it's none of my business. I was forced here. It's that Halai. It's that Halai who seduced us. Senior brother Jason is so powerful that he is unparalleled and unrivaled in the world. How dare we challenge senior brother's pressure? Yes, it's all that Halai. If it weren't for him, we wouldn't be here. The 3 core disciples roared, with cold eyes. He looked at Halai beside him. Halai's face was shocked and angry, and then he looked at everyone fiercely. Whoosh! He soared into the sky, and the spiritual power in his body reached its maximum in an instant, and he was about to escape in the direction of the Sky City. In an instant, he flew several miles away. Want to escape? In the sky, Jason sneered and sent his big hand aimed at Halai's location. Boom! The entire sky was photographed by Jason. Halai, flying at high speed in the distance, looked like a sparrow shot by a hunter, falling into the violent sea of spirits. Jason spread his fingers and grabbed Halai in one fell swoop. He was covered in blood, and he kept pumping out blood. His mouth was foaming with blood, his eyes were white, and all the bones in his body were in the same state as before. A large piece was broken off with one blow. Halai's miserable appearance made the other 3 remaining core disciples swallow hard and tremble in their hearts. Senior brother, have mercy on me, have mercy on me. Senior brother, my skills are incredible, from now on I will follow you, senior brother. Senior brother Jason, I have a bottle of 7th level imperial elixir here, which is my treasure, and now I dedicate it to senior brother. The 3 core disciples all screamed in horror, crying bitterly and full of regret. One of the sensible disciples took the lead and handed Jason a bottle of imperial elixir. The other 2 people also woke up and hurriedly took out the treasures from their bodies and handed them to Jason. Jason took the things handed by the 3 of them one by one with a satisfied expression on his face. Among them were 2 bottles of 7th level imperial elixir. There was only one disciple, but he only took out a 7th level material. Huh? Jason's brows suddenly wrinkled. Senior brother Jason, the only thing I have on me is this kind of 7th level material. The disciple was immediately frightened out of his wits, trembling all over, and almost peeing from fear. You don't even have a 7th level imperial elixir, so you're worthy of being a core disciple? What a waste. Jason snorted coldly. Yes, what senior brother Jason taught you is that I am a waste, I am a waste. The disciple almost cried. Very good. Jason put all the things into the space ring, and then looked at the 3 people coldly. I said that death penalty can be avoided, but living crime cannot be escaped, so you just accept the punishment. Senior brother, spare your life. For the disciples all roared wildly, but Jason remained unmoved and punched the 3 of them respectively. Bang! 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 3 huge roars sounded in the sky above the violent spiritual sea. The 3 core disciples were punched by Jason each, and each of them flew backwards like a dead dog. Blood spurted out from his mouth, and his whole body kept twitching and shaking, and then he fainted and fell into the violent spiritual sea below. Under Jason's blow, the bones on the 3 of them were broken a lot, and wounds appeared everywhere on their bodies. They looked scary, but in fact, they only needed to lie in bed for 2 months to heal. The cure was much better than that of Halai. As for Bigama and Puskin, I don't know how much better it was. Jason stretched out his 5 fingers, and a powerful suction force was released from his hand, immediately catching the 3 people in the air. At the same time, Jason aimed at Gama and Puskin on Huashan Island. The only force they exerted was that the bodies of the 2 of them, which were still struggling slightly, were captured by Jason. Jason's face was expressionless, and he led the 6 people and immediately flew towards the Sky City. City in the Sky, Core Palace. It is afternoon, the most comfortable time of the day. Many idle core disciples like to gather in the core hall at this time, watching the tasks that are refreshed every day, and asking each other for some news. Whether it is on the square outside the main hall or in the hall inside the main hall, there are many disciples communicating with each other. Have you heard that senior brother Azeroth finally achieved great success in his burning heaven repayment technique a month ago? It is rumored that he practiced it in the mansion of Lyun Peak. When he achieved great success, the sky and earth changed color, and the entire mountain peak was covered with water. The fire shrouded and lasted for a long time. Yes, I heard about it too, and it is said that senior brother Azeroth is about to hit the threshold of the 8th level intermediate imperial spiritual master. Originally, senior brother Azeroth was on the elixir list. Strong man, I'm afraid he is even stronger now. Yes, brother Azeroth, he is really a genius. I remember that he once sprinted against the 8th level intermediate emperor spiritual master 2 years ago, but failed. The probability of success is extremely high. Once you become an 8th level intermediate imperial spiritual master, you will definitely become a blockbuster. In half a year from now in the core hall of the Elixir Master Tower, we will hold a new elixir list comparison and rearrange the elixir list. And this time the competition is even more fierce, because the top 20 geniuses will represent the geniuses from our Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, for empires and 3 cities, and everyone wants to win this spot. The top 20, this is not an easy ranking to achieve. Those who are ranked above are all famous figures. They are all shocking monsters. We cannot compare with them. Indeed, what is Brother Azeroth like? The character is now only barely on the list of elixirs, ranking 41, only 9 places away from failing the list. Although the burning heaven and world-destroying technique is now complete, it is still very difficult to hit the top 20. Of course, if he can advance to the 8th level intermediate emperor spiritual master in this half year, he will be certain. Geniuses come out in large numbers. We are all small people. We can only set off the existence of these people. They are the real top in this continent. Genius, the future powerful figure in the mainland. Oh, what can I do? My skills are inferior to those of others. Among the core disciples in the core hall of the Sky City, many disciples are talking about it. The most important thing in the Sky City recently is the re-ranking of the elixir list after half a year, because this time it is related to the Elixir Master Tower who represents the Elixir Master Tower to participate in the mainland trial. Quota. All the disciples are working hard. The disciples who have not been able to enter the elixir list before want to rush into the elixir list, while some masters who were originally on the elixir list want to get closer and even strive for it. There are only 20 places. The most sensational thing in the Sky City in the past 2 months is the completion of Azeroth's heaven-burning world-destroying technique, which is preparing to attack the 8th level intermediate Emperor Spirit Master, which makes many disciples feel envious, jealous, and it's ruthless. In the Sky City, the 8th level low-level Emperor Spiritual Master is a mid to high-level figure among the core disciples. Generally, he can be on the elixir list, but his ranking is not high. However, the 8th level intermediate Emperor Spiritual Master is an out-and-out monster. An existence that can impact the top 20. For example, Balthazar is an 8th level intermediate Imperial Spiritual Master, but he is the top of the 8th level intermediate Imperial Spiritual Masters. He ranks 8th on the elixir list, which is unparalleled. By the way, speaking of Brother Azeroth, do you know that the newcomer Jason, who just joined the core hall a few days ago and had a conflict with Brother Azeroth, how is he doing now? That Jason, who knows, I haven't heard from that guy for a long time. I probably don't know where he is hiding to practice. But this guy is really stupid. He offended Brother Azeroth on the first day he became a core disciple. I guess there will be no good things in the future. And I heard that the guy reported that he had a fight with senior Brother Azeroth that day, and they were evenly matched. However, now that senior Brother Azeroth has mastered the burning heaven and destroying world technique, it is enough to torture him. If senior Brother Azeroth reaches the 8th level, not to mention an intermediate level Emperor Spiritual Master, as long as he appears, he can be crushed to death in one fell swoop. But that guy's attainments in spiritual medicine are really terrifying. In just over 2 hours that day, the help section answered more than 20 questions that had been piled up for a long time, causing a sensation in the entire core hall. If you don't know how to be a low-key person, it will be useless. Sooner or later, you will be dealt with. I heard a few days ago that Gamma and Puskin seem to intend to avenge Halai and cause trouble for Jason. I didn't know. Have you found them? The 2 of them? They are both masters of our Sky City. Puskin is also on the elixir list. Although he is only ranked 49th, he is not an ordinary person. Someone come here, hey, what's going on? How do I feel that that person mentioned a few people? At this moment, a disciple in the square suddenly saw a figure looming in the sea of clouds in the distance, and he immediately exclaimed. Let me see, how many people did he mention? Who is that person? Why don't I recognize him? There are also several people he mentioned who are crowded together and can't see their faces. Isn't that Jason? I know he is Jason, but who are the people he mentioned? What's going on? As the figure became clearer, someone finally recognized Jason, and at the same time, many core disciples paid attention to this. At this scene, there were expressions of surprise on their faces, And even the disciples in the core hall cast doubtful glances at the figure in the sky. Bang! While these disciples were watching, the figure in the sky descended in front of the main hall, and threw the few people he was carrying in front of the main hall like garbage in front of everyone. The figures scattered immediately after being thrown away, and at the same time they let out bursts of moans and rolled in pain on the square. Wow! After seeing the faces of those people, there was a burst of surprised noises in the entire core hall square and hall. What's going on? Isn't this Senior Brother Pujin and Senior Brother Gama? And Master Blacklight Ghost, what exactly happened? Why were all of them so seriously injured? Good guy, Senior Brother Halai's bones are almost all broken. Ah, look at Senior Brother Puskin and Senior Brother Gama, why do I feel that all the meridians in their bodies are shattered? My God, such an injury cannot be healed in a year or a half. Even if it is cured, the future will be bleak. The core disciples in the Sky City, the weakest one is also the 7th level low-level elixir master. On the mainland, they are all national medical saints. After scanning with their spiritual consciousness, they discovered the injuries on Gama and the others, and said they all screamed. The unusual movement in the square also alerted some of the guardians in the core hall. Suddenly, a large group of people walked out of the core hall in a mighty manner. The leading guardians were the ones who greeted them. Balthazar's people and Protector Mingxi were also in the crowd. After seeing Jason, their eyelids couldn't help but jump up. Jason, what's going on? What happened to Gamma and the others? Seeing the miserable looks of the Gamma people in the square, and Jason standing proudly in front of them, the leading protector had a look of shock on his face, and he suddenly let out a drink. Several guardians, these guys violated the rules of the core hall, broke into my mansion on Transformation Island, disturbed my practice, and beat me up. They were lawless and have been captured by me. In front of the core hall square, Jason stood calmly. His face was calm, but his eyes could not help but reveal an unconcealed power, and he spoke indifferently. What, were Puskin, Senior Brother Gama and others injured by Jason? Is it true or false? Senior Brother Puskin is ranked 49th on the elixir list, how could he be defeated by a newcomer? There is also Senior Brother Gama. Although his strength is not as strong as that of Senior Brother Puskin, he still has the strength to hit the elixir list. If the two of them join forces, even some masters who are slightly stronger than Senior Brother Puskin must be wary. As soon as Jason said these words, everyone present was in an uproar. Their faces showed deep surprise and shock. They all looked at Jason standing there with fearful eyes. There was an incredible light in his eyes. However, those who can become core disciples are all heroes outside. After a moment of surprise, they all restrained the excitement in their hearts. However, when looking at Jason, there was still full of fear. Were these Puskin and Gama injured like this by you? In front of the core hall, the faces of several guardians also moved, showing surprise. That's right, Jason nodded coldly, a few guardians. In our core hall, it is clearly stipulated that the residence of the core disciples is a forbidden area for each disciple. No one can enter without the permission of the disciple. They are unable to enter without permission, let alone take serious action. Puskin and Gama previously came to Huashan Island to disturb my practice, and even used their supreme spiritual power to shake up my mansion, openly violating the rules of the core hall. Now I have captured them all and handed them over to a few protectors. Jason stood upright and spoke calmly. Go against the rules. Leave it to us? This is just your one-sided statement. Do you have any evidence? Both Gama and Puskin were covered in blood. Lying on the ground like a dead dog, these protectors didn't know what to say. Evidence. Jason smiled. My Jason's words are evidence, and several guardians can also question these people. Several of them have become enlightened under my influence. I believe that they will definitely tell the facts and the truth. Tell the protectors, Jason finished speaking. His eyes fell on the people lying there. Yes, Protector Novak, Today it is senior brother Hei Lai who confuses Gamma and Puskin. Two senior brothers violated the rules of the core hall and went to Huashan Island together to prepare for revenge on senior brother Jason. As a result, senior brother Jason influenced us with his supreme spiritual power. We all realized our mistake. In the future, we will definitely change our past mistakes and do the right things. A civilized core disciple who abides by the rules of the Sky City. The three core disciples who were not seriously injured felt Jason's cold gaze. They all shouted, with regret on their faces. It seems that I really have a great enlightenment. The performance of several disciples immediately left everyone in the square speechless. Several protectors, the so-called rule-breaking, although I, Jason, am a newcomer, I am also a core disciple. If everyone has the proof, I believe that these protectors will be able to deal with it impartially. Give me justice and I won't let so many core disciples here feel cold, square in front of the venue. Jason spoke eloquently, and they provoked me first. It is also for their own good that I give them a lesson. Otherwise, with their temperaments, they will definitely have conflicts with others when they go out to represent our spiritual medicine master tower in the future. Even falling, it is also a good thing to be able to temper them, this Jason, I heard Jason talking in front of several guardians. Many disciples around him looked at him with awe. But the eyes of Gamma and the others were filled with sadness. In the Sky City, there are indeed some such rules. Without the disciples' consent, one is not allowed to enter the other party's mansion, let alone fight, but this rule is the same as the rule that no one can fight in the core hall. They look the same, but there are differences. The core palace is a place where the strong are respected, and big fists are the truth. Anywhere in the world, rules can only be used to restrain the weak. All rules are just clouds in the face of strength. Gamma and the others are fine with trouble for Jason. As long as he can beat Jason. It's easy to talk about anything, even if the protectors ask, it can be said to be a discussion between disciples, as long as they don't kill or cripple the other party. The core palace will only turn a blind eye. But if you want to blame Gamma and the others, they are too unsatisfactory. They went to other people's mansions to provoke them, but they were defeated by them. They stabbed them in the core hall, and there were witnesses. That's different. Provocation rules, whom no exception. Okay, come here, take Gamma and the others for treatment first. When they are cured, let them go to the Hall of Thought and face the wall for 3 months. The leading protector Norbeck said coldly, Jason, like this, what do you think of the punishment? In front of the square, Jason smiled, Guardian Norbeck, you don't need to consult me. When I first entered the core hall, I heard that you are upright, Protector Norbeck. The interests of the disciples come first, no matter what punishment you impose on Gamma and the others. I will accept it because I believe that Protector Norbeck you will deal with it fairly. Although in the spiritual medicine master tower, the status of the core disciples is nobler than that of the ordinary guardians, and the group of guardians in front of them. Most of them are 8th level low-level emperor, spiritual masters. Only a few of them, Norbeck and Mingxi, are 8th level intermediate emperor, spiritual masters. Jason is not afraid at all. But for the protectors such as Norbeck and others who specialize in working in the core hall. Man, Jason still showed enough etiquette. Okay, very good. After listening to Jason's words, Protector Norbeck and others were silent. After a long silence, they looked at each other, as expected of Jason, who caused the uproar in the Elixir City. You guys, you are all the mainstay of my spiritual medicine master tower. And in the future the glory of the spiritual medicine master tower will also be spread by you. However, I hope that while you continue to practice hard, you will also stay close enough to your brothers and sisters in the same sect. Protector Norbeck was saying. After saying this, he left, and some of the guardians on the side also helped Gamma and others up. After feeling the injuries on Gamma and the others at close range, these guardians couldn't help but gasp. A breath of air conditioning. Several people were rushed to the medical center for treatment. As soon as Guardian Norbeck left, many disciples left with fear. If Jason's report on the first day only made them feel a little wary of Jason's arrogance. So now, after seeing the miserable appearance of Gamma and the others, their feelings towards Jason changed from fear to fear. Jason felt the frightened eyes around him and nodded in his heart. The reason why he brought Gamma and the others was to intimidate them. He came to the core hall to improve himself, not to fight with some disciples all day long. Guardian Mingxi, please stay. As Jason walked into the core hall, he stopped Mingxi. Jason, what's the matter? After hearing Jason's call, Protector Mingxi stopped immediately, and then came over with a smile on his face. As Jason's strength shows more and more, Protector Mingxi's attitude towards Jason is also constantly changing. He is just a management protector of the core hall. He can manage some ordinary core disciples, but he understands monsters like Jason. With the other party's potential, his future achievements will be far above his, and it is simply not something he can offend. Guardian Mingxi, I want to exchange some 7th level Imperial spiritual elixirs for some points this time, and also exchange some 8th level Imperial spiritual cores. Please help me handle it. Jason said that he would come here this time. Another purpose of the core hall was revealed. His God Transformation Island still lacks a 9 spirits chi gathering formation to complete, and the points consumed by a 9 spirits chi gathering formation are extremely huge. Just 9 8th level wood element emperor level spiritual cores. Based on the most common 800,000 points, 9 points equals 9.2 million points. Plus some other expensive materials, it requires nearly 10 million points. Therefore, those who lacked points last time Jason was not prepared. But now after answering 28 questions, Jason has received nearly 9 million points one after another. Although he redeemed some materials last time, Jason still has 8 million points. In addition, Gamma's 10,000 wood Emperor staff has already contributed an 8th level Emperor level spiritual core, and Jason has obtained several bottles of 7th level Emperor level spiritual potions from several other people. If they are all sold, it was enough to collect 10 million points, so Jason immediately constructed the 9 spirits chi gathering formation. It's on the agenda. Once the 9 spirits chi gathering formation is built, Jason will be able to plant large quantities of rare elixir materials on his God Transformation Island. The benefits generated by then will be extremely huge. Exchange points for 7th level Imperial elixirs? After hearing Jason's words, Protector Mingxi couldn't help but be startled. Yeah. Jason nodded, took out the 2 bottles of Imperial elixir and the 7th level material that he had previously obtained from the 3 people, and then walked out and said, if it's okay, I still have one here. A top-grade spiritual weapon. Want to sell too? As he spoke, Jason immediately took out Napuskin's Taiyue sword. After getting the Taiyue sword, Jason felt it carefully. The seal contained a powerful earth element formation, which could incarnate as Taiyue and use it to fight enemies. Although it is powerful, it is not of much use to Jason now. If possible, Jason would also like to sell it. After all, the 9 spirits chi gathering formation alone would cost nearly tens of millions of points, and at the same time, it wanted to cultivate some rare elixir materials. It also requires spending a lot of Jason points to purchase. This giant sword, isn't this Puskin's Taiyue sword? After seeing the giant sword in Jason's hand, Protector Mingxi was dumbfounded. It is the Taiyue sword, but it is not Napuskin's now. Because he trespassed on my God Transformation Island, Napuskin has given me the Taiyue sword as compensation. Jason spoke calmly. Give it to you as compensation? I think you snatched it away. Jason was too cruel. Not only did he injure Puskin and the others like that, but he also took away their weapons. I'm afraid if Gamma and the others were conscious now, they would all be so regretful that their intestines would turn green. Protector Mingxi murmured in his heart, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He is not an idiot. Weapons are a second life for any spiritual master. There is no reason for a spiritual master to compensate for his own weapon. Naturally, he can guess that Jason snatched it from his opponent's right hand. However, he was only slightly dazed. After a moment, he came back to his senses and his expression became serious. Jason, if what you brought out is a spiritual core or some ordinary materials, I can take you there. You can redeem them directly in the points redemption area, but if you want to redeem these 7th level Imperial elixirs and this Taiwa sword, I suggest you go to Jibao Pavilion to sell them. Jibao Pavilion, where is that place? Jason couldn't help but be stunned. Hee. See what Jason looks like. Mingxi couldn't help laughing. Jason, you have just joined the core palace, so you don't know much about it. In our city in the sky, there are many places, and this treasure-gathering pavilion is one of them. It's here to trade items between disciples. Can't the trading items just be done in the core hall? Any item can be exchanged for points, and then the points can be exchanged for other things. Isn't it very convenient? Jason sounded confused. But when he finished speaking, he was stunned as if he had thought of something. I think you have also thought of it. Mingxi smiled and said, you also know that when you exchange items for points in the core palace, any item will be discounted by about 20%. Selling to the core palace does not mean cost-effective. The 7th level materials and Imperial level elixirs that can be exchanged in the core hall are all relatively common materials and Imperial level elixirs, truly rare materials and Imperial level elixirs. They are rarely seen here. As for the 8th level ones, materials and Imperial elixirs are even rarer and will almost never appear, and this treasure-gathering pavilion is a place where disciples trade treasures with each other. There are many, many things, not to mention 7th level materials and Imperial level elixirs. Even 8th level materials and Emperor level elixirs often appear because each disciple often gets things that are not very useful to him personally, so many disciples prefer to exchange treasures in this treasure-gathering pavilion. Mingxi paused and continued, although there are disciples exchanging things in this Jibao Pavilion every day, the last 2 days of each month are the most lively and grand, and every year, January, March, and the last 2 days of the 4 months of June and September are Sheng, if I remember correctly. Today should be the 30th of January, it is one of the last 2 days of January, and it is also the first Sheng of this year. The day when the trade fair begins, is there such a thing? Jason didn't expect that there is such a place in this sky city. Jason, come with me, I will take you there. This Jibao Pavilion. Mingxi smiled faintly and flew into the air, while Jason followed closely behind Protector Mingxi and flew past. The whole Sky City is a floating island city. It is just a communication center for the core disciples of the Elixir Master Tower. It is not a city used for living like the outside world. Therefore, the area is not very large. Protector Mingxi just flew over it for a moment, and then he fell down in front of a tall and magnificent building. Right in front of the tall building, there were Jibao Pavilion, these 3 gold appraisal characters shining brightly. The whole building was incomparably magnificent. There was a kind of an unconcealed aura of luxury hit your face. Jason, this is the Jibao Pavilion, which is the trading center for core disciples. I won't accompany you, and Protector Mingxi said. In fact, he was extremely conflicted in his heart. After seeing Jason after gaining strength, he really wanted to maintain a good relationship with Jason. But he couldn't offend Elder Chittick either. Therefore, he couldn't be too close. Jason naturally wouldn't care about Protector Mingxi. What are you thinking about? He nodded and walked into the treasure-gathering pavilion alone. An extremely vast hall instantly appeared in Jason's eyes. Immediately, bursts of noisy noises buzzed into Jason's ears. This is... Jason was dumbfounded for a moment. In the hall in front of them, many people are sitting cross-legged. In front of them, there are small stalls. On the small stalls, there are some items for sale, just like a vegetable market. The people here are all the core disciples in the core hall, and the weakest one is also the 7th level low-level elixir master. But seeing them all arguing with each other for bargaining, Jason felt like he was back. The trade fair held after the Spiritual Medicine Master Conference in the Northwest countries. I think that at the trade fair, Jason picked up a lot of mistakes through his own vision, and even obtained the sealed spiritual heart, which is the immortality of his third-level spiritual ring. Thinking back on Hoofing's spiritual heart, even though it had only been 5 years, it still made Jason feel like he was in another world. Shaking his head, Jason rushed this memory away from his mind. He immediately walked into the crowd and started watching from the booth in front of each disciple. Look, Jason, which Jason? That one is the Jason who captured Senior Brother Gamma and Senior Brother Puskin, as I mentioned earlier. You were setting up a stall here just now, so you didn't see it. It's him. Where is he? How did he get here? It's the one with long black hair. Jason's appearance immediately attracted the attention of many disciples nearby, and there were many comments. There was discussion, but the entire hall was extremely noisy, with many disciples coming and going. Only some stall owners near the door recognized Jason, while more people lowered their heads to look at various items and communicated with each other. As he stood, he didn't notice Jason's appearance. Jason naturally didn't bother to pay attention to these glances and walked around in the mezzanine, but his brows couldn't help but frown slightly as he walked. Because he discovered that although many of the items in this hall were extremely rare, they were only low-level items. The highest ones were only 7th-level materials, and even 7th-level imperial elixirs were very rare. They are just some ordinary imperial elixirs, which can be redeemed with points in the core palace, but the price is just a little lower. And choosing things here is not like some trade fairs on the mainland, because there is a mixed bag of fish and dragons, and each businessman has a different vision. There are often some mixed materials to deceive people, but there are also some treasures that are covered in dust. As long as you have a discernment, some treasures can still be detected. But here, the weakest of each disciple is also a 7th-level elixir master. He comes from all over the mainland, has extensive knowledge, and knows the value of items. It is difficult to find things that can truly turn waste into treasure. According to what Protector Mingshi said, the treasures in this treasure pavilion should definitely not be just this kind of stuff. Is there another place? Well, let's find someone to ask. Jason was confused in his heart and was about to find someone. When asked, his eyes suddenly fell on a stall not far away, and then his eyes suddenly lit up. On the stall, there was a human-shaped elixir material, quietly placed among various items. Below this human-shaped elixir material, there was a massive human-shaped rhizome, and above it, there are 7 leaves, and next to the 7th leaf, there is a bud that has just sprouted a small head. However, both the 7 leaves and the buds looked a little withered, drooping there listlessly. This is 7-leaf spirit ginseng? Jason came to this person's stall. After taking a closer look at the elixir ingredients, a look of surprise suddenly appeared in his mouth. My friend, you really know the goods. Seeing that someone recognized the 7-leaf ginseng, the person setting up the stall immediately raised his head, with a smile on his face. However, after seeing who was opposite, the person setting up the stall, suddenly, the person was stunned for a moment. Senior Brother Jason? There was a trace of surprise on the man's face, and then his expression became a little fearful. However, amid that fear, there was also a hint of joy. Nowadays, Jason's reputation in the core hall is known to everyone, no matter it is his arrogance when reporting, or the terror of answering questions crazily, as well as the reports of Gamma and Puskin from the core hall not long ago. His deeds made Jason famous in the core hall, and even made the ordinary disciples feel a little afraid of him. Judging from the appearance of this 7-leaf ginseng, the first 7 leaves have been fully grown, and the buds of the 8th leaf have even been pulled out. It is obvious that enough energy has been absorbed to start the journey from the 7th-level ginseng. The transformation of the medicine into an 8th-level elixir. As long as the spiritual energy is sufficient and the environment remains unchanged, it can take anywhere from a few years to no more than 30 years before the 8th leaf will be completely extracted and become a true 8th-level elixir. It is a pity. It was dug out at this time. The growth conditions were destroyed, causing the leaves to wither, and they could only be reduced to ordinary 7th-level materials. Seeing the look on the face of the stall man, Jason showed no expression, just holding the 7-leaf ginseng in his hand. He couldn't help but sigh. I am an elixir material, containing unique elements. Depending on its growth year and quality, it is an important material for many elixirs. In fact, I am not a particularly rare elixir material on the mainland. It is sold in many places, because I have a very unique characteristic, that is, like the spiritual core of a spiritual beast, I grow leaves based on that there are different levels and uses of elixirs. 3-leaf ginseng is a 3rd-level elixir material, while 4-leaf ginseng is a 4th-level elixir material. Their quantities are not rare. However, only after it grows to 7-leaf spirit ginseng, its value rises sharply. Below the 7th level, it is just an auxiliary elixir material for some elixirs. After the 7th level, it begins to become some emperor-level elixir materials. The main material of elixir. But the real value to me is the 8-leaf spirit ginseng. When I mutate from the 7th level to the 8th level, the energy contained in it will undergo a qualitative mutation. The 8-leaf spirit ginseng is the reincarnation potion of the emperor-level spiritual potion. The most important material, and the efficacy of the reincarnation potion is astonishingly powerful. Any spiritual master below the level of the 8th level emperor spiritual master, including the 8th level emperor spiritual master, no matter how seriously injured he is, as long as he still has a breath of life, the reincarnation potion can save his life, and for the 9th level Holy Spirit Master, although the efficacy of the reincarnation potion is not that strong, it still has a great effect. This has also led to the fact that the price of a complete 8-leaf ginseng on the mainland is terrifying. In the hands of an 8th level elixir emperor, the price of a complete 8-leaf ginseng is equivalent to half a bottle of generational medicine, which is enough for everyone on the continent is crazy about it. It's a pity that, because of its popularity, the 7-leaf ginseng is rare. As for the 8-leaf ginseng, it is extremely rare. Each one is a priceless treasure on the mainland. For a 3-leaf ginseng to grow into a complete 8-leaf ginseng, it will take at least hundreds of years under a specific aura environment. An ordinary medicinal cultivation organization simply cannot afford to wait for this time, but this is not the main point. Yes, because a powerful force like the 4 empires can still afford to wait for hundreds of years. More importantly, its probability of evolution is too low. Only one among dozens of 3-leaf ginseng can evolve into a 4-leaf ginseng, and only one among dozens of 4-leaf ginseng can evolve into a 5-leaf ginseng, and so on. You can know how difficult it is to artificially cultivate an 8-leaf ginseng. Therefore, when Jason discovered that the 8-leaf ginseng had been dug out before it had fully grown, he was filled with thoughts. I can't help but feel full of regret. The 8th leaf of this 7-leaf ginseng has already been extracted. It only takes a few years to harvest an 8-leaf ginseng. But now, such a top-quality elixir is not available. It was destroyed abruptly, huh? Just when Jason shook his head repeatedly, suddenly, there was a trace of surprise deep in his eyes, because he felt that there was a faint wave of life coming from the 7-leaf ginseng in his hand. Vitality, at the same time. The cyan ball in Jason's mind also suddenly started to rotate automatically. A unique wood-type life vitality was released from the cyan ball and entered the 7-leaf spirit along Jason's right hand. Among the participants. Suddenly, Jason's perception increased, and the vitality of the 7-leaf ginseng increased again. Jason couldn't help but be excited. With his knowledge of elixirs, he immediately understood this 7-leaf ginseng can convey vitality, which means that the vitality in this 7-leaf ginseng has not been completely cut off. As long as it is cultivated, there is still a possibility of survival. Make an offer for this 7-leaf ginseng. I will wanted. Jason held back the joy in his heart and spoke calmly. After hearing Jason's words, the middle-aged man's eyes suddenly showed a hint of joy, but also a hint of hesitation. Aren't you just putting this 7-leaf spirit ginseng for sale? What's wrong? Seeing the other party's hesitation, Jason frowned and said. No, the middle-aged man shook his head hurriedly and said at the same time, Brother Jason, although this 7-leaf spiritual ginseng is the main material of many 7th-level imperial elixirs, the formulas of these elixirs I don't have any, so it's of no use to me at all. If Brother Jason wants it, he can just exchange it for a 7th-level elixir material that I need. Of course, you can also pay 500,000 directly. Integral. But the middle-aged man hesitated again, and finally said, Senior Brother Jason, I have 2 questions about elixirs that I don't understand. If Senior Brother Jason, you are willing to help me answer a question, I will give this 7-leaf ginseng to you, Senior Brother Jason, as a reward for answering my questions. After saying this, the middle-aged man looked at Jason with some anxiety. The last time Jason was solving problems in the help area, this middle-aged man was also present. He also took advantage of the flow of people and hurriedly posted 2 requests for help. But at the time, there were so many people asking for help. Until the end, the middle-aged man's questions were not answered, which made him full of regret. Now that he saw Jason, he immediately used this as a condition, hoping to get Jason's help. But Jason's illustrious reputation also made him feel a little uneasy. Answer a question for you? After hearing what the middle-aged man said, Jason couldn't help but be startled. Well, Senior Brother Jason, if you are not willing, then give me the 7th-level material I need or 500,000 points. The middle-aged man hurriedly spoke out. Haha. Seeing the nervous look on the middle-aged man, Jason couldn't help but laugh. If you have any questions, just ask. If you answer a question for the other party, you can get a 7-leaf ginseng. How could Jason not want such a good thing? Senior Brother Jason, have you agreed? The big man's face was full of excitement, and his eyes looking at Jason were also full of gratitude. Senior Brother Jason, I am preparing some 7 when making the Imperial Elixir. I always feel after receiving Jason's approval. The big man immediately told Jason about the doubts he had encountered during the preparation of the elixir. Your question is actually very simple. After the middle-aged man said the question, Jason immediately understood the other party's symptoms during the preparation process and immediately explained it to him. As Jason explained, the middle-aged man's frown suddenly relaxed, and his eyes became brighter and brighter. A kind of enlightenment floated in his mind, giving him a sense of enlightenment. Feel. Jason didn't just answer the other party's questions, but also expanded on the other party's problems, and even gave the other party improvement and repair plans. Throughout the whole process, the middle-aged man listened intently, not daring to be distracted at all, until Jason had completely answered the question. So that's it. After Jason finished answering, the middle-aged man couldn't help but let out a long sigh and murmured. He had looked at Jason with a look full of fear and anxiety, but now, I am full of gratitude. Jason's answer finally let him know his own weakness. For a time, countless thoughts continued to float in his mind, making the blood all over his body boil. In fact, answering a question usually only requires stating the main reason for the problem, but Jason's current answer not only answered the other party's doubts, but also told the other party how to improve it. Senior Brother Jason, thank you for your advice. I don't even know how to thank you, Senior Brother. The big man said to Jason with great excitement in his eyes, Senior Brother Jason. Look, is there anything else you like at the stall? You can choose another one and I will give it to you for free. The middle-aged man said with determination on his face. This was not an act of pretentiousness. Jason's previous guidance gave him, although his many inspirations have not been tested yet, the middle-aged man can feel that after Jason's guidance, his knowledge of elixirs has been greatly improved in just a few minutes. Looking at the sincere face of the big man, Jason smiled. He answered the other party's questions just for this 7-leaf ginseng. He would not take anything else from the other party, and he would not take anything else from the other party. He doesn't need some of the other materials on the stall now. After putting the 7-leaf spiritual ginseng into the space ring, Jason stood up immediately, but unexpectedly discovered that at some point, a group of people had densely surrounded him. These core disciples all looking at him with eyes full of fire. "Brother Jason, come to my stall and see if there is anything you need." "Brother Jason, although I don't have 7-leaf spiritual ginseng here, I do have 2 extremely rare 7th level materials." "Brother Jason, you came to Jubao Pavilion this time to buy something. Let me see if I have it here." "Brother Jason, please help me answer a question. As long as I have something on my stall, you can choose whatever you want." When Jason looked over, these core disciples all shouted loudly with fiery eyes. As a 7th level elixir master, none of the core disciples present had any doubts about elixir science. Many of them had posted questions in the core hall for help, but almost no one answered them. In their minds, they can only slowly answer it themselves. The last time Jason answered the question in the core hall, many disciples who were not present regretted it. Now that they saw the scene just now, these disciples all everything is almost crazy. Feeling the extremely warm and boiling scene around him, no matter how calm Jason was, he couldn't help but be a little dumbfounded. "Everyone go back to their stalls and take out all the things they can sell. I will start from the first stall and look at everyone's stalls. If I like someone's things, I will naturally buy it." Looking at the extremely noisy hall, Jason shouted immediately. After Jason's words fell, many disciples immediately returned to their stalls, and many disciples who were just planning to come over to buy materials also applied for a stall one after another and began to place their own stalls on the ground, willing to sell something as it comes. The things they took out were actually what these disciples needed, but in the face of answering their doubts about the elixir, these disciples chose to take them out, hoping to attract Jason. Spiritual elixir materials and elixir potions can be purchased in the future, but such opportunities to solve puzzles do not come often. Seeing the actions of these disciples, Jason was speechless. However, as a master of elixirs, he also understood clearly what these disciples were thinking. For a master of elixirs, and when it comes to answering your own doubts in the preparation process, everything is beyond the pale. Sometimes, a huge confusion can even make a master of elixirs go crazy with pain. After watching the disciples in the hall take out some rare items one after another, Jason was no longer in a hurry to find higher-level trading places, but returned to the first stall and looked at the items in front of him. "Come." When Jason started looking at this first stall, he didn't find anything that attracted him. However, at this moment, in addition to the original items on the stall, there were several more items on the other side. It was a rare thing, and the disciple who set up the stall looked at Jason with burning eyes, full of anxiety. Obviously, these things were specially placed by this disciple in order to attract Jason. However, this disciple really met his requirements. Originally, there was nothing in the stall that made Jason worth stopping at, but now there was something that caught Jason's attention. This was a golden ore that looked very ordinary, but it made Jason couldn't help but feel excited. Gold-grained silver wire, this is the name of this ore. Golden-grained silver wire is a golden stone. There are many golden hair-like lines on its surface, and these silk paths are arranged very neatly. And if you dig open the stone, you will find a silver thread inside. All the value of this stone lies in this silver thread. If the elixir masters use a special method to extract this silver thread, they can obtain a silver liquid. This silver liquid is extremely precious. When mixed into the elixir, it can greatly increase the success rate of preparing and synthesizing the elixir. Of course, this silver liquid is not omnipotent. It is like a catalyst and can only be used for certain types of elixirs. At the same time, the process of adding this silver solution correctly is quite complicated. For elixir masters, it is a great test. Improving the success rate of elixir preparation and synthesis by increasing the difficulty of preparation is a challenge for most elixir masters, so many people rarely use it even if they have gold and silver threads. During the preparation, it can only be used in the preparation of some elixirs that are lower than the own level and are very important to determine the success of the elixir preparation. But for Jason, this gold and silver thread is extremely important. He is the most important. What is not lacking is the preparation technology. With this gold and silver thread, Jason can even try some elixirs that his current elixir level has not reached. Tell me, what's your problem? Jason took the gold-patterned silver wire in his hand and asked the other party questions at the same time. Brother Jason, it's like this. After the disciple saw Jason's actions, his whole body was suddenly filled with excitement, and he immediately began to talk about the problem he wanted to solve. That's it. In the following time, Jason wandered around the booths in the hall, carefully looking at what he needed. If nothing else, Jason really found some good ones. Things. Just walking through the first row of stalls, in addition to gold-grained silver wire, Jason found two extremely rare but powerful materials. Golden-grained silver wire, floating flower, and associated neon crystal. The same goes for floating flower. It is very rare, and its appearance is very similar to another 7th-level advanced material, floating velvet. In fact, the two are the same kind. Under certain extremely special circumstances, floating velvet will produce strange mutations and grow into floating flowers. The only difference between the floating flower and the floating velvet is the stem. The stem of the floating velvet is milky white, while the floating flower is bright red. The value of the floating flower lies in its red stem. Its stem contains a substance called streptococcus, which is highly toxic. But when it is mixed into the elixir, a wonderful reaction will occur when it is combined with the spiritual consciousness. It allows the spiritual master to very clearly perceive the fusion process between elements during the preparation process, and at the same time improves the stability of the elixir. Improving the success rate of preparation and incorporating it into the solution will bring great convenience to the elixir master during preparation. Companion neon quartz is another fantastic ingredient. Its appearance is also very interesting. It looks like two flat strips of rainbow crystal growing side by side. There is a piece of crystal connected between them, like a conjoined baby. The most important use of associated neon crystals is not in the preparation of spiritual potions, but in the outline of spiritual patterns. A very unique neon element can be extracted from the associated neon crystals, which possesses excellent spiritual power. Conductive, it is an excellent natural spiritual ink. It can be used to outline most of the spiritual patterns, and it has an activating effect on the spiritual patterns. If the user needs it, it can even have an amplitude effect on the pattern by adjusting it with a unique technique. This accompanying neon dream crystal is in excellent condition, with a crystal clear color and a slightly colorful neon luster. It is also very large and can fully support the construction of any large-scale formation. The purpose of Jason's search for materials this time was to outline the 9 spirits chi gathering formation on Huashan Island. Now that he has found such an excellent spiritual ink material, he will naturally not miss it. However, the accompanying neon dream crystal has extremely high requirements for the spirit pattern master. Its melting time is very short, only 1 hour, and the spirit pattern of the entire formation needs to be completely completed within this hour. Otherwise, after it solidifies and then melts, it will no longer have such a wonderful use. However, the 9 spirits chi gathering formation is an extremely huge and complex formation. This can be seen from the fact that its material reaches nearly 10 million points. It turns out that, so far, it is not comparable to the Ju Tian Grand Formation and the 5-element Spirit Transformation Formation with hundreds of thousands of points. Even the most powerful spirit pattern master cannot carve a 9 spirits chi gathering formation in an hour. But for a spirit for Jason, the master of medicine, this is not a problem. He is fully capable of maintaining the efficacy and performance of the accompanying neon dream crystal spirit ink without worrying about solidification and loss. For Jason, these 3 materials, no matter which, the appearance of any kind was enough to excite him for a long time. He didn't find it at the stall before, but now, each disciple took out these things, just to get Jason's answer. These disciples, who are the core members of the spiritual medicine master tower, the top power in the mainland, more or less have some treasures that can be traded. It depends on whether you can impress the other party. It seems that I will come here more often in the future. As Jason walked around the hall, the disciples looked worried and nervous at every stall Jason walked to. Once Jason didn't fancy anything and left directly, the eyes of those disciples, all of them, showed extremely disappointed looks, and when Jason picked up something and asked a question directly, the disciple who was asked expressed excitement and told excitedly about the doubts he encountered in the study of elixirs. Although Jason showed extremely amazing knowledge of elixirs in the core hall's help area, some disciples still expressed doubts about Jason. But as Jason's answers continued, all the disciples were stunned. Because this time is not like last time Jason just skipped some questions he didn't want to answer just for points. But this time, Jason answered with purpose. As long as the booth where he asked questions, there would be what he needed. Naturally, all questions about rare items must be answered without missing a single one. Moreover, every disciple's question was explained in a simple and profound way, which shocked all the disciples in the hall. At this point, everyone was shocked. This Jason's attainments in elixirs were not only as powerful as others said, but terrifying to the point of being evil. The questions raised by all the disciples in the hall were all kinds of, related to anything related to elixirs. In one aspect, Jason answered them all one by one, and there was no question that stumped him at all. Such knowledge of elixirs was enough to make anyone stunned to the point of disbelief. Of course, not all disciples need to ask questions. If there are disciples who don't want to answer questions but need something of their own, Jason will also exchange points for other items. Of course, there are almost no such opportunities. When Jason, after browsing almost all the stalls in the entire hall, Jason's space ring already contained a lot of materials. In addition to some extremely rare materials, there were many kinds of materials that were not heated enough to be elixirs. Jason, he also changed it into his hands, and planned to plant it in his own valley when the 9 spirits chi gathering formation was completed. Anyway, Jason himself didn't have to pay anything at all. He only had to answer other people's doubts. There is something more profitable than this in the world. Did you rely on it? After Jason visited all the disciples' stalls, he turned his thoughts to other places in the treasure-gathering pavilion. The people who trade here are all 7th-level Imperial spiritual masters. The materials brought out are all 7th-level materials, and he needs 9 8th-level spiritual cores to build the 9 spirits chi gathering formation. So, where are these 8th-level materials traded in the treasure pavilion? Thinking of this, Jason immediately looked at the end of the first-floor trading hall. He didn't believe that this majestic treasure pavilion was just a place for communication among a group of low-level core disciples. Senior brother Jason, is this your first time coming to Treasure Judgment Pavilion? As long as you walk to the end of the first floor, you can enter the trading hall on the 2nd floor. There is the special trading venue of Jibao Pavilion. Some people with treasures, if our senior brothers want to exchange something, they usually go to the trading hall on the 2nd floor. Before Jason could make any move, the middle-aged man who had previously traded Jason's 7-leaf spirit ginseng to the side seemed to feel when Jason's thoughts came to his mind. He spoke with some anxiety. At the end of this first floor is the trading hall on the 2nd floor? Jason couldn't help but be stunned, and then asked, but why didn't I see any disciples entering? That's it, brother Jason. Then the middle-aged man explained, the trading hall on the 2nd floor requires admission qualifications. Generally, only senior brothers at the 8th level Emperor spiritual master level or disciples on the elixir list can enter freely. Ordinary disciples who want to enter can enter freely. You must have 8th level materials for sale to be able to enter, otherwise you will not be qualified to enter at all. It is much more formal than the trading hall on the 1st floor, and for many senior brothers, the things traded on this 1st floor can only be, generally speaking, they will enter the second floor directly from the side door of Jubao Pavilion, and few people come to the trading hall on the first floor. When the middle-aged man heard Jason's question, he immediately told him what he knew with some excitement. Told Jason everything. No wonder, let me tell you, it turns out that there is a trading hall on the second floor of the Jubao Pavilion. Jason couldn't help but suddenly understood, and at the same time he understood why he didn't see a high-level disciple here at all. It turned out that they were all directly went from the side door of Jubao Pavilion to the second floor. Since there was no treasure worth taking action in the first floor trading hall, Jason stopped staying and immediately walked towards the end of the first floor hall. Senior brother Jason, when will you come to this trading hall next time? There are still some treasures in the lower mansion. I don't know if they can catch the eye of senior brother Jason. Yes, senior brother Jason, I still have some. The problem cannot be solved. I don't know when senior brother will come to the first floor trading hall again when he is free. Senior brother Jason, I dare you to ask me what materials and treasures you need most. If you find them in the future, you can sell them to senior brother. Yes, senior brother, please tell us. Seeing Jason was about to leave, many disciples in the hall immediately shouted. Many disciples did not attract Jason this time. Sen made them feel regretful, and those who had a deal with Jason, after tasting the sweetness, naturally wanted to make a deal with Jason. In the hall, Jason stopped, looked at the expectant eyes in the hall, thought for a moment, and then said with a smile, everyone, if nothing else happens, Jubao Pavilion's 4 large-scale transactions every year on the first day of the meeting, I will take the time to come over. Disciples who have questions can wait here with their treasures. As for what materials and treasures I need, I will be interested in as long as they are rare items. At the same time, if you have some, I may need all the rare elixirs that can be cultivated and survived, whether they are mature or immature. After Jason finished speaking, he stopped staying and went directly to the end of the hall on the first floor. Sure enough, he saw a portal. Before leaving, Jason turned around with a smile and bowed his hands to all the disciples in the hall, and then walked into the second floor trading hall of the treasure collection pavilion. Just after Jason's figure disappeared, the trading hall on the first floor, which had seemed a little quiet before, suddenly became extremely noisy. Is this really senior brother Jason? Then isn't it said that senior brother Jason is very arrogant and arrogant? Why do I feel so amiable? Yes, when senior brother Jason answered my question just now, he was not arrogant at all. Instead, he explained in extremely detail. I was quite nervous at first. Let me tell you, this kind of senior brother is ours. Good senior brother, I dare say that some of the other senior brothers in our core hall can also answer all of our questions, but I have never seen them go to the help area to solve it. Them? They are all stupid. Zizhen, are you afraid that our knowledge of elixirs will surpass theirs? Shu, keep your voice down, you don't want to live anymore, don't you? Actually, senior brother Jason is not arrogant. I was also there the day senior brother reported, it was that guy Hey Lai. He took the initiative to provoke senior brother Jason, only to be knocked unconscious by a punch from him. Indeed, what happened today was not senior brother Jason's fault. It was senior brother Gamma and senior brother Puskin who took the initiative to go to senior brother Jason's transformation. I was captured and humiliated by my senior brother after being provoked by Kamideo. Other people come to my mansion to provoke me, if it were me, I wouldn't have a good temper. By the way, senior brother Jason is so handsome, I'm fine, I like it. In the trading hall on the first floor, many disciples started talking, their eyes full of worship and admiration for Jason, and even a few female disciples screamed and winked, showing his admiration for Jason. I'm afraid even Jason himself didn't expect that his behavior of answering questions for others in the first floor trading hall would immediately gain him the gratitude and support of many ordinary disciples in the core hall, and his original arrogant reputation would suddenly change. A lot. But even if Jason knew about it, he wouldn't show any expression. To him, these things didn't matter at all. Only constantly improving his strength was his only goal. While the disciples in the trading hall on the first floor were talking a lot, Jason had already arrived at the trading hall on the second floor. This second-level trading hall, both in terms of trading items and transaction scale, is far more impressive than the original and spontaneous trading hall on the first level. Therefore, when ordinary disciples enter the second-level trading hall, they need to show the items for sale. Only those who have reached the second-level qualification certificate can enter. Of course, this is only a restriction for ordinary disciples. Some core disciples who have reached the level of 8th level Emperor spiritual masters, or masters on the elixir list, naturally do not need this verification process, because their strength is the guarantee. However, Jason, but it was blocked at the second level. Junior brother, this is the trading hall on the second floor of Jibao Pavilion. People like you are not allowed to come here. If you have something to trade, please show the items you want to trade. Only after passing our evaluation can you come. Qualified to enter the second floor trading hall. The person who stopped Jason was a burly man with a beard, just over 2 meters tall. He looked down at Jason with a hint of arrogance in his eyes. Behind him, there was still standing with the other 2 disciples, they guarded the checkpoints, respectively. This is the guardian of the second floor of the treasure pavilion. It is not the guardian of the elixir master tower, but is held by the core disciples. Generally, there will be such tasks released in the core hall, and then the disciples will apply and pass the review to select the guard. As for the personnel, the core palace will generally select core disciples at the level of 7th level senior imperial spiritual masters. Don't underestimate such a small job. Compared with other tasks issued by the core hall, the gatekeepers on the second floor of the Jibao Pavilion are a poor job. Only those disciples who have a very good relationship with the guardians who issued the tasks in the core hall. Only then can you be selected. First of all, as long as you take this position, you can establish a good relationship with the senior brothers in the core hall, flatter them, and become familiar with each other. Especially on the days of large-scale trade fairs like this, many people who usually only practice in their own mansions and are not born in the world experts will take the time to come to this Jibao Pavilion to trade. It can be said that they are popular. This is one of the benefits. The second is that as long as you become a watcher, you are qualified to trade in this second-floor trading hall. You can feast your eyes on it without having to look like a trader. Like ordinary disciples, they must produce 8th level materials before they can enter. The last and most important point is to collect benefit fees. If ordinary core disciples want to enter the second level trading hall, the treasures sold must pass verification. As long as they are ordinary disciples who want to enter the second level trading hall, no matter what kind of treasures are sold, they will be given to them more or less. Some benefit fees. This big man is also a first-level senior imperial spiritual master disciple in the core hall. When Jason first came up, he could see at a glance that Jason only had a 7th-level intermediate cultivation level, and he immediately looked arrogant. Stopped Jason. Normally when meeting those monsters, he would always bow his head and say a few compliments, but when meeting an ordinary disciple like Jason, he would naturally become arrogant. Seeing the other party's eager eyes, Jason, who had learned the rules from the previous trading hall on the first floor, did not say anything more, but directly took out the Taiwa sword from his space ring and placed it at the guard station. On the appraisal table. Well, let me take a look at this giant sword. The burly man's spiritual consciousness passed over the sword of Taiwa. When he felt a powerful force emanating from the giant sword, he looked at the giant sword. It is not a mortal thing. I can go in. Jason picked up the Taiwa sword and immediately prepared to walk towards the trading hall. In his mind, the big man would immediately get out of the way after inspecting the giant sword, but he didn't. Thinking of the big man blocking the intersection, instead of getting out of the way, he took a step forward and blocked Jason at the door. That's right, that's right. Are you going to sell this giant sword? The burly man nodded repeatedly, with a smile on his lips, and set his eyes on Jason while making a holding gesture with his hand. His intention is very obvious, that is to collect benefits, and he will never get out of the way if no benefits are given. What a joke. You have to know that in order to get this task, he stuffed a lot of red envelopes into the protector in charge of the task. If he didn't take it back from these ordinary disciples, wouldn't he be losing money? At the entrance, Jason's brows suddenly furrowed when he saw the other party's actions. Carrie is the guard team leader on the second floor of the trading hall. Generally, when the core palace is looking for guards on the second floor of the treasure pavilion, it will look for 4 disciples, and one of them is the team leader. As the team leader, Carrie naturally would not stand stupidly at the door like the other 3. He had a lot of time to wait and see in the trading hall. He just walked around the trading hall. Of course, he was just taking advantage of this opportunity to open his eyes. With his 7th level senior imperial spiritual master's strength, as long as he didn't have 8th level treasures, he didn't have the right to hang around here. However, as the team leader of the guard, Carrie has not completely forgotten the task of guarding the door. After all, he is the little leader among the 4 and has more power, but if something happens, he has more responsibility than the other 3. It was large, so after wandering around the trading hall on the second floor for a while, Carrie returned to the entrance. When he looked at it, his brows furrowed, because he saw the guard Jim blocking the guard area, as if he was blocking someone, and he also saw Jim rubbing his hands to ask for favors. Jim, what's going on? Don't you know that the second floor trading floor is where the brothers trade? Carrie couldn't help but feel angry, and then stepped forward. Although this was something that everyone knew secretly, it was only secretly known to this ordinary disciple. Everyone was very cooperative and did not put this on the table. Jim's blatant request made Carrie feel unbearable. I was a little angry. Because of Jim's blockage, Carrie did not see the face of the person Jim stopped at first, but after he took 2 steps forward, because of the angle, the face of the person he stopped suddenly appeared in front of him. Although Jason is famous among the ordinary disciples of the core hall, he has only been to the core hall 3 times in total, so not many ordinary disciples know him. However, Carrie recognized Jason. When Jason reported for the first time, knocked out Hei Lai with 1 punch, and was present when he confronted Azeroth. After seeing the face of Ji Xianlan's disciple, Carrie's eyes suddenly widened as if he had seen a ghost. Then his whole body trembled suddenly, and his eyes showed extremely frightened eyes. Isn't this senior brother Jason? His mouth trembled, and then he rushed forward like lightning. At the entrance, Jason was not an idiot. He naturally understood the other person's meaning from his actions, but he understood clearly, how could Jason really do it? Do as the other party does. This is the so-called King of Hell is easy to meet, but the devil is difficult to deal with. In an organization, it is often the person with more power who makes things difficult for others. But today, this burly man Jim is the one who makes things difficult. When they arrived at the other party, Jason's face was gloomy, and his eyes fell coldly on the other party. Since I took out the treasure, why don't you get out of the way? Opposite, the burly man Jim's face couldn't help but darken. Jason's ignorance made him feel very unhappy. He immediately snorted coldly, "What treasure?" "That giant sword you just took out. I think it's very ordinary." "Well, you want to enter the second floor trading floor with something like that, and you don't take pictures of yourself, Jim." Just when Jim said coldly, an angry roar suddenly came to him. Rang in his ears, and then he felt a huge wind sound behind him. Before he could react, he only heard a bang and someone slapped him hard on the back of the head. The burly man Jim couldn't help but groan immediately, and a huge momentum came, causing him to fall to the side involuntarily. But after all, Jim was a 7th level high-level Imperial Spiritual Master. His spiritual power surged under his feet, and he suddenly stabilized his voice. Then he turned his head and saw the person who had slapped him before. Those who can appear in this second level are all high-level disciples. Jim was still a little worried about which senior brother would take action against him. When he saw the person who took action, his face suddenly darkened. Carrie, although he is the team leader among the four of them, he is only arranged by the protector who issued the mission. In terms of identity and status, the two of them are both 7th level senior imperial spiritual masters. The relationship was better than him, but now that he saw Carrie dare to give him a slap in the face, Jim couldn't help but feel the slightest anger in his heart. "Carrie, who are you? You dare to attack me today," he cursed loudly. His eyes were red, and he looked angry. He walked forward quickly and wanted to argue with Carrie, but then the scene that came down made him completely stunned. Carrie, who had given him a slap in the face before, completely ignored himself, who was angry at the sight. Instead, he walked over to the previous place with a trace of fear and a hint of a flattering smile on his face. In front of the black-haired young man he stopped. His face was full of respect and humility. "Senior brother Jason is coming to the trading hall on the 2nd floor. It's really rude of me to welcome you from afar. I hope that senior brother Jason will pay more attention to you. Don't argue with the villain. Come on, senior brother. Please come in quickly, let me show senior brother around the 2nd floor." Carrie's actions immediately stunned the angry Jim and the other two guarding disciples. Isn't this black-haired boy a 7th level intermediate imperial spiritual master? Why does Carrie have such an attitude? Could he be the subordinate of some evildoer in our core hall? No, this is the trading hall on the 2nd floor of Jubao Pavilion. No matter which evildoer he is, he must abide by the rules of Jubao Pavilion. It is impossible for Carrie not to let the other party come in after inspecting the treasures they want to sell. Jim, the burly man, was in a daze at the moment, and he didn't have time to come to his senses. "Jim, why are you still standing there? Why don't you come over and apologize to brother Jason?" Not far away, Carrie saw Jim's confused and stupid look, and shouted angrily in a low voice. "Jia, senior brother Jason." Hearing Carrie's low-pitched roar, Jim suddenly felt that the other person's name was somewhat familiar. The next moment, Jim, who was still confused and red with anger because of Carrie's slap, suddenly turned into a ashen. Cold sweat suddenly sprung up from Jim's body like mushrooms after rain. Jia, senior brother Jason." Jim squeezed out 2 words with difficulty, and he finally remembered. Who is the other party? It's either the one who just joined the core palace or is at the core palace gate. Is it the madman who knocked out senior brother Hai Lai with one punch and fought against senior brother Azeroth without any fear, but with incomparable arrogance? What frightened Jim even more was the news that had just come from the core palace continent. Because senior brother Puskin and senior brother Gamma went to Huashan Island to disturb his practice, senior brother Jason beat the two to death. He was crippled and even punished by Protector Norbeck facing the wall. Although Jim was not present before, he also received the news. At this moment, Jim felt like he was about to cry. Under Carrie's low voice, he wanted to go up and apologize, but his legs were shaking, so weak that he couldn't walk at all. When he thought about how he had turned to such a person before, the evil star asked for benefits, and Jim felt like he couldn't even breathe. Seeing that Jim still didn't come up to apologize, Carrie became even more angry. He said to Jason with a respectful face, "Brother Jason, this Jim is so outrageous. Just wait, I will kill him right now. Bring it here and make amends to you." After Kai Rue finished speaking, he was about to walk towards Gumu. "Forget it, junior brother Kai Rue, just take me around the 2nd floor trading hall." At the entrance, Jason looked at Jim coldly and made a faint sound. Naturally, he didn't bother to ask about such a trivial matter. He came to the 2nd floor trading hall to buy things, not to teach others. Yes, senior brother Jason, this is your first time to come to the 2nd floor trading hall. Come, I will take you around. I don't know, senior brother, are you planning to take a look when you come to the trading hall this time, or are you interested? If you want to sell or acquire something, let me help you with your reference. Carrie immediately laughed and glared at Jimmy, then led Jason towards the 2nd floor trading hall, leaving only Jim and 3 people standing stupidly. Plop. After Jason's back disappeared around the corner, Jim couldn't stand anymore and sat down on the ground. Jason's sharp glance from earlier made his neck shiver. After a long time, Jim finally breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, he realized that there was a chill on his back. At some point, the spiritual master's robe on his back was already wet. The trading hall on the 2nd floor is an independent place. The entrance is separate from the trading place. Under the leadership of Carrie, after opening a door, a huge hall suddenly appeared in front of Jason. When Jason first stepped into this hall, Jason's eyes couldn't help but freeze. The trading hall on the 2nd floor is not comparable to the one on the 1st floor. If the 1st floor is noisy like a vegetable market, then the trading hall on the 2nd floor is like a noble jewelry store. All the disciples who had something for sale were sitting there cross-legged, while the disciples who wanted to buy something were watching quietly, and it was not as lively as Jason imagined. But this was not what refreshed Jason. What refreshed him was the aura in the entire hall. Except for the 7th level Imperial Spiritual Master disciples who have 8th level treasures for sale, the others who can be here are at least 8th level low-level Imperial Spiritualists, or people on the elixir list. In other words, the disciples here, all of them have similar strength to Gamma. Even if they are weaker than Gamma, they are not much weaker, and most of them are stronger than Gamma. What does the 8th level Emperor Spiritual Master represent? In the outside world, he is definitely the top powerhouse in mainland China, with an extraordinary identity and status. You must know that in the entire Northwest, excluding Renault, only the top 3 masters of the top 3 forces are 8th level Emperor Spiritual Masters. And among the 4 major empires like the Salem Empire, people like an 8th level Imperial Spiritual Master like Rudiba is enough to become the governor of Chi'er province, the strongest person there. Almost all of the disciples in this hall at the moment are 8th level Emperor Spiritual Masters with amazing strength, but here, they are just ordinary disciples. Although everyone here has restrained their aura and does not exude such terrifying power, when such a large group of people gather together, the hidden power gathered among them is an inexplicable and terrifying aura circulated in the hall, which shocked Jason. In this life, it was the first time for Jason to see so many Emperor Spirit Masters gathered together, which gave him an inexplicable shock. But soon, Jason's face returned to calm, and under the leadership of Carrie, he walked into the hall. Jason's appearance also made many people in the hall look over. Seeing Jason's rather unfamiliar face, many people had a hint of surprise deep in their eyes, but unlike the first person, what was completely different in the trading hall on the 1st floor was that after showing a hint of surprise, the disciples turned their heads and no longer paid attention to Jason. For these monsters in the core hall, they are extremely arrogant. They are constantly practicing every day and never pay attention to anything else. The only thing they think about is to improve their own strength. Naturally, they will not do anything for it. They were distracted by anything else. In fact, this trade fair was the first large-scale trade fair in the new year, which attracted them. Jason, on the other hand, was used to all kinds of looks. At this moment, he was a little uncomfortable with the indifference of these monsters. But soon, Jason came back to his senses, because he felt a strong gaze. It fell on him from a distance, full of coldness. In this coldness, he could faintly feel a strong hostility. Jason raised his head and met the owner of these eyes. Azeroth. There was a sneer on the corner of Jason's mouth. The owner of his eyes was none other than Azeroth, who had had a conflict with him. At this moment, the other party was looking at him with cold eyes, his eyes filled with emotion. It was Lung Ran, showing Jason a cold smile. However, the other party did not say any words or actions. After giving Jason a warning look, he quickly turned his head. In the trading hall on the 2nd floor, the people who appeared on the elixir list were all strong men and monsters. Even he, Azeroth, does not dare to overstep or be presumptuous in the slightest. Jason didn't make any move. He just sneered in his heart. He came here to sell things. It would be better if Azeroth didn't take action. If he dared to take action, Jason would definitely make him regret coming to this world. On the side, Carrie was extremely nervous when he saw this scene. He was present when Jason clashed with Azeroth. Knowing that Jason was extremely arrogant, he was still afraid that the other party would not be able to stand his opponent, but after seeing Jason felt completely relieved after seeing nothing strange on his face. The sound in the hall was very quiet, and everyone was very restrained. Jason took a few steps to the first stall, and his eyes began to sweep. When he looked at it, a trace of surprise could not help but appear in his eyes. 10,000 flower vine, dragon film stone moon spirit stem, the things on the first stall, surprised Jason slightly. If these things were placed in the outside world, they would definitely be rare medicinal materials that would make many elixir masters jealous. Even in the trading hall of the elixir master tower, they would be rare. It may not be possible to find it, but it is placed like this here. Even with Jason's knowledge, he can't help but praise it. It seems that the second floor trading hall is indeed not in vain, but although these things it was rare, but not something Jason urgently needed. Jason only glanced briefly at it, then looked at the next stall. This time Jason came to the city in the sky mainly to buy materials for the 9 spirits chi gathering formation. This was the main purpose. At the same time, he also sold some useless things on his body. Now even the 9 spirits chi gathering formation Jason hadn't purchased the required 8th level emperor level spiritual core, so he naturally wouldn't spend points and items on other materials. After strolling around the second floor hall for a while, Jason frowned slightly because he discovered that there were no 8th level spiritual cores in the disciples' booths. Carrie was following Jason all the time. Next to Sen, he knew that Jason was coming to this treasure pavilion for the first time and wanted to make friends. After seeing Jason frown, he quickly stepped forward and said, "Brother Jason, what do you need?" "I want to acquire 9 8th order wood-type emperor level spiritual cores, but I don't know how to acquire them," Jason said calmly. 9 8th order wood-type emperor level spiritual cores? Darling. Carrie couldn't help being startled. Senior brother Jason is really a big deal. He made 9 8th order emperor level spiritual cores in one move. Isn't that right? Senior brother. Carrie was stunned in his heart, but he said out loud, "Senior brother Jason, you can." Before Carrie could finish his words, Jason heard a sudden from Jason's mouth, and then, the whole person was already walking towards a stall in front. The owner of the stall is a man in gray with an indifferent expression. He sits cross-legged with his eyes closed and ignores the disciples around him. From his body, there is a subtle fluctuation of spiritual power, and he is actually selling things here. When I was there, I was practicing. So diligent Jason couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He finally met a guy who was more diligent than himself. However, what Jason paid attention to was not the other party's diligence. What caught Jason's attention was a fruit the size of a baby's fist that was placed in a jade box at the front of the stall. This is a crystal-clear fruit like green jade, like a piece of fine jasper. It exudes a faint halo in the jade box, and has pure natural lines faintly outlined on it, twisting and turning, like a winding line. It looks like a snake, exuding a strange charm. The most strange thing is this green fruit, which also exudes a strange and refreshing smell. From the first glance, you can tell that this thing is quite extraordinary. Ordinary elixir masters, even 7th level elixir masters, may not be able to recognize this fruit, but Jason could tell at a glance that this fruit was the same fruit that Master Sultan of the Kingdom of Wis brought out. The 8th level fruit that brought Wayne back to the peak of the 8th level is the same level of treasure as the Ice Spirit Holy Fruit, the Longevity Fruit. This Longevity Fruit is an extremely unique fruit, an 8th level treasure. The reason why it is so high level is not only because it takes hundreds of years to ripen and is extremely rare, but also because it can cure all diseases and prolong life. Has a great relationship with the efficacy. The longevity fruit contains a unique vitality that is naturally capable of treating most diseases. Even if it is not prepared by a spiritual medicine master, just taking it directly is equivalent to a bottle of 7th-level healing potion. It can be called unbelievable. Of course, it is not the efficacy of the longevity fruit that excites Jason. In fact, as long as it is an 8th-level elixir material, such as the ice spirit holy fruit and 8-leaf spirit ginseng, none of it is simple. What Jason is really excited about is that the longevity fruit is the main material for many 8th-level Emperor-level spiritual potions, and one of these 8th-level Emperor-level spiritual potions is the longevity potion. Immortality potion, the 8th-order Emperor-level peak elixir, is the most miraculous elixir among the 8th-order Emperor-level elixirs. After taking it, it can increase anyone's lifespan by 12 years, and its main materials are 3 types: Tisway wood, longevity fruit, life essence grass. Among them, the most difficult Tisway wood, Jason had already obtained it at the trade fair of the Spiritual Medicine Master conference a few years ago. Now he has discovered the longevity fruit here. As long as he gets this longevity fruit, there is an 80% chance of being able to prepare the legendary elixir of immortality. Because although the life essence grass is also one of the 3 main materials, it is not irreplaceable. The 2 most important ingredients for preparing longevity potions are the Tisway wood and the longevity fruit. "Sir, how can I sell this fruit?" Jason spoke up in front of the stall. Although he was excited, his voice was calm and did not appear very eager. Jason's question immediately attracted strange looks from some of the surrounding disciples. "Huh." After hearing Jason's asking price, the man in gray suddenly opened his eyes, and a ray of light suddenly bloomed from his eyes. In front of the booth, Jason looked calm, waiting for the other party's answer. "You want this longevity fruit? This is the 8th-level elixir material. If you can't afford the price, don't ask." The other party looked at Jason lightly and said hoarsely. Jason couldn't help but be stunned. Although he knew that since the other party placed the longevity fruit in the most conspicuous place, he obviously knew its value, but he did not expect that the young man in gray also knew the name of the longevity fruit. There are indeed hidden dragons and crouching tigers in this core hall. Jason couldn't help but sigh in his heart. "If you don't bid, how do you know I can't afford it?" Jason said calmly, not at all annoyed by the other party's attitude. 5 million points. The man in gray responded hoarsely. As soon as the man in gray said these words, the entire surrounding area suddenly became quiet, and everyone looked at Jason with a hint of teasing. Obviously, this fruit had attracted the attention of many disciples before. Some people had asked about the price, but they were all frightened by the lion's mouth of the man in gray. To be continued.